Yeah, I pulled up and I'm like, I thought I was gonna be way out here for parking, but there was like one spot down there. Whipped it real quick.
I hear it out all the time.
All right.
Yeah, they're working on it.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have the minutes from December 4th.
Move them. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay. All right, we're up to public comment. I know we have the FFA, and I know we have some government students, maybe? Okay, so we'll start with government students. If you'd like to stand up and introduce yourself.
Samantha Taddeo, Brittany Foss.
Okay. And how about the FFA?
Trish Allen.
Cameron Walker. I'm Kylie Wiggins. I'm Erin Pierce, I'm the advisor.
All right, welcome. And for the government students, don't forget to get your papers signed after the meeting. Do we have any public comment?
I have a concern with the school parking lot. At 3:05, a lot of the parents go to pick up on the curb, and you cannot see around them when you're coming from the school parking lot, and you cannot fit two cars in. So if somebody else is coming around, it's really a hazard with people driving.
And is that in towards the student parking or outdoor towards this main part
It's
here?
yeah, it's straight out there. It's on the curb when you go around from the school parking lot to go down.
Yep.
Where the yield sign is. They park behind that at anywhere from 223 to 305, and you cannot get past them.
Okay.
If a car's coming in.
All right, we will look into that. Thank you. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. All right. Is there any other public comment? Did I see somebody just sneak in? Okay. All right, we are up to 4A, possible discussion items. I guess it's to start with the legislative luncheon. Let's see, that was Friday. Larry and I had attended the legislative luncheon in Green, the silo. It was actually a good meeting, although a lot of legislators weren't able to make it for various reasons. There was Senator Seward and Assemblyman Cliff Crouch, who wasn't actually there himself, but sent representation. But, the main concerns that they have, as well as, what we have, is the financial aid, I'm trying to think of the categorical aid, allowing the schools to be able to allot that how they see fit. Being a rural school, one size doesn't fit all, and to have that, ability to put it towards what they need to, and earmark it towards, things that are important to that district itself. So, I think they're very strong supporters of the education aspect, their jobs. And actually, Senator Seward said that he actually sits on the education committee.
Yeah. He'll be sitting on it this time around anyway. He doesn't know what the ranking is going to be, so he doesn't know where in that committee he's
Right.
going to be.
So the new ones that were just recently elected, those are the ones that I think are going to be the ones that we really need to reach out to. Even possibly invite them to some of, our school, other schools in the area, just so they can see what it is like to be in a rural school district. I'm trying to think of some of the other things that were concerns for Senator Seward. He worried about the educational resources. He's fearing that it may be funneled downstate versus upstate. That they are going to continue with the effective and ineffective for the APPR as far as keeping it out of the testing aspect of it for the students. So I think that's a good thing right now. And what else did they talk about? He reached out to BOCES, and this was put on by the Delaware Shenango Madison BOCES, but he wanted to thank BOCES for preparing the children for the workforce and for keeping the children here, you know, after they graduate from school, reaching out to different businesses, you know, to work with the BOCES students, you know, and getting hands-on experience and stuff. So it was informative, I thought. I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, or?
Well, the issue about the categorical aid is that we end up getting foundation aid typically in a budget, but what many times happens is some of that aid is put in a category for us. It's categorical aid. So you get this aid and it looks good on paper, but you have to spend it in a certain place. And if a district, we're not alone in this, and if the district is unable to spend that money for whatever reason it might be, then what happens is you don't get that money. So on paper, you might be awarded X dollars, but because you can't spend that money because you can't fit into that category or whatever it may be, that money is actually reduced by a certain amount. And part of the argument is those barriers about categorical aid need to be dropped so that school districts such as ours, rural school districts, especially in upstate New York, have a little more flexibility with what they can do with those funds, put them in places where we really need the money. And we feel as though it's misleading in as much as you look like you're getting this set dollar amount when actually, because of what you can spend, it might be less than that. And so there was quite a discussion about that. He did mention, Seward did mention that this district has just recently elected a Democratic senator to the state Senate.
Yeah, for our
and
area.
being how that is the majority party, that it might behoove school districts that do have a Democratic senator to speak to that individual. Which goes back to what Rhonda was saying. So
It's a good meeting. Good conversation. All right, the policy committee that met on December 11th.
We discussed the option of having a roundtable discussion for board members such as ourselves around Delaware County. What we experience as a board and what the school experiences as far as needs, whether it be grounds, any kind of taxation coming up. We have a common theme, we think, with a lot of the districts around Delaware County, and I know a roundtable used to exist in some format. I think it was a lot more formalized back then. I did have a discussion with Brian Lauderette leading into this, who's our area rep. I guess what we were thinking is a little bit less formal. A good example is a wrestling program being combined with Delaware Academy, for example. If there's a place to maximize shared services in different areas for these rural schools and school districts, we think it's going to behoove us to have those conversations now. I mean, they could be 5, 10, 15 years out on some of your programs or some other things you can consolidate, but we think it'd be good, it'd be very productive to have those conversations now and start thinking along those lines. Should the day arise or the opportunity arises. But I don't think it should be anything formal where you're having bylaws or voting, things like that. It's more or less just a roundtable discussion, brainstorming ideas, because we're all within the same geographical area. So we face similar issues from school standpoints. So there can be lessons learned. If you have capital projects, things like that, you can feed off of other districts and board members on how they get support and what the projects are, what you're looking at for STEM programs in the future. So I think those informal discussions would be very important, especially as you have new board members, you could give them more experience coming in too. So want to run that by everybody and see if they thought that was a good idea. I can ask Brian, we can talk to BOCES, things like that, and see if there's any way to do something like that, or if anybody's interested in doing that at all. So we just figured we would throw that out there.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Maybe that's something that could be held at BOCES, you know, where everybody, the central location.
Or you could even
For other
rotate
school
schools. You know, I think
Yeah.
that would be good. We also thought if you get experience seeing other school districts and what they're doing, it's easier to have them demonstrate to you how they're operating and functioning within their own confines or their own campuses.
Right.
And we could do the same. So I think that it'd be a good information sharing that I think we're remiss if we don't do that.
And that's something you can reach out to Brian and
Great.
he would help organize, so. Good, I think it's a good idea, yeah. Let's see, the summer orientation retreat. Is that along those lines as well, or possibly having it?
Once again, we thought with new board members, things like that, I know when Paul and I came in, we were thinking the orientation, some of the stuff we did for orientation is what NISBA says, you know, don't hand the guys a stack of paperwork, say read through it top to bottom, and we'll send you a letter weekly to get you up to date. So
Right.
we really wanted to look at, is there a better way, and set a better community spirit if you take new board members coming on and do an actual retreat that summer that they come on, so they can get up to speed with, here's your policy committee, here's what the policy committee does. By the way, here's your policies that are this thick, you might want to focus on those. Things of that nature. So I think the retreat, the formal training you have to have in finances and general governance is okay, but it doesn't give you a feel for how the organization actually functions. And
Right.
I think that would be very beneficial to have that, and our recommendation was to talk about that during the summer. I think it should be a standing thing in the summer where you have orientation. It's even good. You can tie in some of your board trainings with that, but summer seems to be less conflicted with everybody. So there's a couple months in there that I think we could take advantage of as a group.
Right,
So people don't have to come in as cold, I think, coming into something like this.
Because one of the things that we also discussed was maybe assigning internally, like a mentor, or somebody who is an experienced board member to a new board member. But there are already so many time constraints with being a board member. Having to find a common time that's available amongst the two might be difficult. So starting that process early, not the individual mentorship, but working and coalescing as a team, so that person can see maybe where certain members have more experience and can go to them to lean on them for a little expertise. That's kind of
and we currently have a policy on new board members, so maybe this is something that we can add to that and have it as a annual
Yep.
situation. So that'll be left for the board policy committee.
We're already looking at it.
Yeah.
That's what triggered
I
the
think-
thought process.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're good ideas.
While we're talking about policy committee, I want to bring up policies, because the workload to go through these things is phenomenal.
And
I
just so
guess
the
as a rep-
students know, the policy books, we have, is it 3 or just one book that we're working on right now that's about that thick?
One book, go away.
Right, there's
One
9
book.
sections.
So it's quite large.
Yeah, so the sections are broke up into 1,000 categories, and it can go from everything from administrative to board responsibilities to all the way down through your policies on harassment, stuff like that. And some of our policies are very dated. This new book was given to us in rough format over 3 years ago, and basically we picked it up this fall to really start working on it in earnest. So there's a lot of good information on there. And the best part about reviewing the policies is really, you get the background as to why the policy exists, what you're doing and what you're looking at it for. And the reviewing is quite intensive. I mean, the 3,000, 4,000 sections are yay thick, and it's a lot of reading. We've been doing a lot as a policy committee, getting together monthly to go through a section at a time. To roll it out to the board, we really wanted to look at it either by, get our first glance through it as a policy committee, get it back to NISBA, get the corrections. It's been so long since they gave us the books as to when we actually picked them up and started working with them, that some of the policies we're working on, they already have revised since they gave them to us 3 years ago. So we want to catch this up and get the policies current, is what the bottom line is. And then the faster we can do that, the better off the district is. So we're going to look at one section at a time, but how we roll that to the whole board is we plan on doing our review, sending it to NISBA. NISBA's going to get their review back to us, and then we really wanted to roll that to everybody, probably by section to review. But we want to adopt the whole thing at one shot.
Right.
Right.
Mr. Charles, I think, was thinking we might adopt by section though.
Well, the only thing I was concerned about adopting after that we had met, had thought, is the revised policies. Because, like I said, we're putting it, this is kind of like on fast track for us, we're shoving it as hard as we can. But to get it back to the board, and have you review it, I know for me, it's probably a good 4 to 5 hours a section. If you, by the time you start reading it, trying to so it just doesn't become blah.
Right.
And if we lay out 9 sections and have everybody try to sit down and go through that, it's just, I think that's going to be, the issue that we have though is the sections don't necessarily marriage to our policy book.
Right.
So what's addressed in 1,000 might be at the end of our current policy, where it's be in the beginning of the new one.
And more
So
importantly,
it's kind of we're kind of in a little
Right.
bit of a limbo state.
Yeah.
That's what I want to use for this. It's going to be confusing.
more importantly, the cross-references, if you do it by section, your cross-references are going to be off. So I think as we get them back from NISBA, I think the board should get them as, 1,000's done, get it back to the board as 1,000, review it, open it up for, you also have public comment for
Right.
25 days
Correct.
on it. So you want to be able to put that in there, not give the whole public a binder that thick and say, oh, have 25 days with it. So
So you're right, yeah, maybe
bits and
sections.
pieces, but I think the overall goal is to have the book adopted at one shot so you don't miss the cross-references. So we're up to date with NISBA, and the book is current. Because it's been here, like I said, 3+ years, and we just picked it up and
So I-
should have been going through it.
Where we probably, when we get the thousands back, we'll get that back from this, because we've made our recommendations of corrections and changing them. Then we'll get them back, we share them with the board, and you'll get an idea by reading through those, what the load is on that section. And then, like I said, there's 9 sections to it. And then after the board reviews those, maybe then we can have another discussion of this to see how the entire board wants to take that workload
Right,
forward, to know, because it's gonna be,
And
a
there's
lot to swallow at
there's
once.
sections that the staff have to review with us.
Right.
Which we're coming up on now in the 4,000s. We have to have the expertise of the staff to look at these things to make sure they make sense. Because they are quite in-depth, but at the end of the day, if everybody wants, the board to operate at their level and everybody understand exactly how it works, policies are the way to do it. So it's the right thing, we need to do this, but it's a lot of effort. It is a lot of reading.
so maybe like you said, once you get done with this first section, put it out to the rest of the board, and then we can see what we've got. But you're right, having the whole policy come to us, and trying to read through that and remember the first one that you read,
Right.
that's a lot to it, so I think we'll try that. Everybody in agreement with that? Sounds good. With it first?
The
Okay.
last piece of that,
Right.
just quickly, I think quarterly, when we get done adopting the book, quarterly, we're probably going to try to, as a policy committee, try to do refreshers. So we may bring a few policies quarterly to the board meetings to go through so that the policies stay fresh with everybody. And we get that immediate orientation with anybody on the board coming in. Once this process is done.
Right, so after it's adopted, then do quarterly reviews.
And that's something we could probably just do by lottery type of thing.
Sure.
Right.
Instead of doing it in order, just grab a policy, or if something
Comes up
comes
on
up,
top.
go to that section and review,
Right,
just to try to keep it
Yep.
fresh.
Yeah, because in the onboard newsletter, newspaper that we all get, there are certain hot button issues there. You'll see where an issue arises. I mean, last year there was a lot of content on school lunch bullying, things like that. So, which is moot now because all of our lunches are paid for. So,
Right.
But that's when we see things in there that require attention or just to refresh. That's when we bring them forward.
Right. So that's a good idea. All right, December 12th, we had the Finance Committee report. Paul, do you want to touch on that?
How about you go for it? Hold on,
Let me
Deborah.
get my, excuse me, I lose my voice here. So at this finance meeting, we started out with the discussion of the budget calendar, and creating the budget calendar. And then we went on to the status and impact of the budget formation. Tim reviewed, what impacts, the budget. It's not just it's not just programs, but he broke it out, programs, facilities, to labor, to taxes. So we had a lot of discussions about different things, and changing one thing could have an effect on another thing. Adding new programs sounds great, but where does the funding come from? And now you may need another teacher. Or if you take something away, now where is that individual going to go to, or what are those students going to take? So our conversations actually kind of went all over the place, at first, but there's a lot to it, a lot to creating, the budget. The other thing that we did discuss was the long-range planning of the reserves. And Tim, I don't have oh wait, maybe I do have those. Do you have that right off the top of your head?
Depends on what you're gonna ask me.
Let's see. Yes, I know that it was detailed, but a lot. I have 170,000 written down. Is that correct?
We only have 2 reserves remaining at this point. I want to say one is the Kevlar, the liability reserve, and the other one, repair reserve. Let's take our workers' comp. I can't remember which of those 2 it is, but there's only 2 reserves.
Okay.
And
So,
the grand total is only about 100.
okay, so some of our discussion went towards, we had discussed a building project a few years ago, and maybe that is something that I know the facilities committee is discussing, what we need right now, things that need to be addressed, immediately. But maybe that's something that we could put out there, is establishing a reserve for that, for future use. We know we're going to have one, yeah. So that'll be something that'll be forthcoming, and, the facilities committee, be able to shed more light on that. But do you think of anything else that I'm missing?
No, we touched on a lot of topics.
We did.
The future planning with regard to the budget, and tying in different leaders like we discussed in policy to try to achieve, figure out the best programs to offer for our students. But that's a moving target based upon the classes coming through. So again, it tied in with curriculum, finance, policy. There were a lot of bases touched, but it's certainly a good meeting.
Yep. And Tim, I want to thank you again. He had done a spreadsheet, and we can share this with the board, going back to 2013, right up to 2018. And like our revenues pretty much are staying the same, our expenditures staying the same. So we'll talk further about the reserves and stuff. That's all I have on discussion items, I believe. Well, we do have that, though. I do want to pass around these thank you cards that we received, one from Pastor Larry Light and another one from Tim McMullen. Pass those around to you. All right, so we are up to correspondence. I think we don't have.
We don't have
Yeah.
anything.
All right. So finally, we are up to presentations, the Walton FFA. Guys?
Thank you.
Welcome again, everybody.
So in October, we were given the opportunity to travel to Indianapolis, Indiana for the 92nd FFA convention. And while we were away, we got the opportunity to go on a bunch of exciting tours, such as the Fair Oaks Farm Tour. We got to go to a rodeo, we got to see some singers, and we also had the opportunity to see President Trump speak to us.
So actually the boys didn't get to go on the tours, but the Fair Oaks Farm Tour, they have like their own facility, actually their own gas station too, which is pretty cool. How many, I think it says in there like how many cows and everything.
It's 70,000 cows.
75,000?
No, 75,000 pigs and 30,000 cows.
So it was like super cool. We got to go on a bus, and there were actually like cow buses, and they took us through the barns, and then we got to watch cows being milked on like these rotating spinners. And then the pigs, they were like everywhere. It was like crazy. They had like different like rooms. Like they had a piglet section, like a growing section, then like a sow section. So it was pretty cool
They use
Did
a
you
robotic,
just-
they use a robotic milker?
for the cows.
For the
Yeah.
cows?
So they had
Yeah.
like I think 2 workers.
Yeah, they had the carousel, and the cows just walk in when they want, and then they have workers on the ground as they spin around, and they just set it up. and
One to
then they
like
go
clean
around.
their teeth, and then the one to like make sure that the milkers get taken off. And they do sit, like they said, like this lady was there, and she said that they sometimes like go around twice and stuff. So it just like happens, I guess. So.
Do they do a lot of biosecurity with the pigs? Is that why you guys were bussed through?
Yeah. Well, we were actually bused through the dairy farm, but we can like see it from the ground. Like they're on the ground, we like look down at them. So. Oh yeah, at the dairy farm, and they were like so clean. It was like awesome. But they take out the manure, and it's like what was it used for? It was like used for I don't know.
What are they marked? So they put it in closed containers and then it'll happen.
Food battery? No, I don't know.
So they harvest that methane. and
Biodigesters?
They use it to food farm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they had their own biodigester right there.
Was it a slotted floor where it just dropped down through away from the cows and then they harvested?
No, actually, we didn't get to see that part because, the biosecurity is
Sure.
so tight that they didn't let you through, but it was pretty fascinating.
I still think it's amazing that you had to get on a bus to tour the
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy. Yeah.
There was
And then
3 of them.
Oh,
that
wow.
we didn't get to go through the one, but we went to the 2 ones.
And it like takes us right in between the cows. Yeah, it was cool.
That's amazing.
So when they were out on all these tours, we got to walk through the convention and talk to a bunch of colleges and meet people from other states. And this little pamphlet, we tried to get signatures from every state. I got to 49. I was missing 2 and I couldn't find the last 2. We had
Wow.
the convention then. When we were, what stadium did we go to for session?
It was,
No,
no,
that
no,
was
that
for the concert.
it was the Pacer Stadium.
All the FA kids, we filled up the stadium for the session.
It was cool. Yeah, there was like blue, seas of blue everywhere. And like met so many people from like so many places. Super cool.
What an opportunity. So what did you think of Indianapolis?
I don't know. It was cool. I liked it a lot there. The weather, it was kind of chilly and rained a lot when we were there. It was fun though.
People were nice.
Yeah.
Even though it was a city, they all were so friendly. Like, if you would have went to New York City, you wouldn't come to that.
Yeah,
Any
especially,
ideas for your home farm, Tracer? Not at all?
We didn't get to go on any of those farm tours, we didn't go on the bus, but, a week in the city, I think, was enough for me, though.
yeah.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, so like we said, the Gawk Works concert, which was like the best concert I've ever seen, and he was like super good with like the whole FFA, it was pretty cool. And then Trump, I thought he was pretty good. It was so long though, and we were so ready to go home at that point.
That man can talk.
Welcome to politics.
I don't even think he knew what he was talking about, but he made it sound good, so. So we just wanted to say thank you to all of you guys for making it possible.
Well, thanks for coming back and letting us know how it went. That's nice. Glad you had a good time. Glad you had the experience.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Thank your parents for all the fundraising and stuff too. It's a lot of effort, for sure.
Very nice. And we know that you may have other things that you need to get to, like homework maybe? Thank you. Okay, do we have any additions to the agenda?
Not.
Okay. All right, and we are up to 8, the consent agenda. We have the financial reports, and Tim, I heard you tell Graydon that the budget column was missing and.
Right. You're probably gonna want to wrap that one in.
Yep. Yeah, I seen that. And then we have the surplus items, declared surplus, which are mostly the books.
Where do they go, the books? We have tried to donate them to other places, and nobody takes books anymore. They generally get trashed. Right. Or they'll get put out to the art department for projects.
Yeah, some kids were making wreaths out of books, out of pages out of books.
Very sad.
Yeah, that is. We have a couple of requests for unpaid leaves. And that was it for the consent agenda. And that would be for Carol George and Meredith Baker. So do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, and we're up to new business. We have a couple of donations. First one, we have, we have a $1,000 donation from Scott Radiker to the Townsend Elementary School in memory of Jean Farmer, and to be used to assist students in need. Does anybody else remember Mrs. Farmer?
Yes.
Okay. And then we have $30 for Betty McGibbon to the Destiny Twyman Scholarship Award. Do we have a motion to accept those donations?
Move it.
Second? Who's it? Marilyn, was that you? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, and we are up to personnel appointments. We have Cheryl Green, substitute custodial worker, Brenda McDonald, substitute bus monitor, Rachel James for substitute teacher aide, and substitute school monitor, Tamara McDonald for substitute teacher aide, substitute school monitor, substitute food service helper, and substitute bus monitor, and Dean Frazier, substitute custodial worker.
I'll move them.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and I'm going to abstain from that for conflict. And I believe that's all we have. Okay, we're up to 10 administrative remarks.
So we have much of our support staff, leadership here tonight to speak with you. Mark is here because I'm going to ask for a brief executive session of which he would be a part. So he's not going to do his report tonight because he talked to you last time. And I think we'll go right to our food service. We've got Lucy Hops, and next to her is her supervisor, Kim Corcoran. I was going to say McCoran for some reason. It was coming out wrong. Kim Corcoran. And so we'll let them go first so that they can scoot out the door if they like.
And I'll talk fast because I have a lot to say and not very much time. So last year we went with CEP, which is called Community Eligibility Provision. And we were supposed to be at a board meeting and that didn't get, it got, oh, sorry, I didn't know she had to. That got, whatever, unless something happened and we didn't make the board meeting because whatever was going on. Anyway, Community Eligibility Provision is a federal reimbursement program that increases reimbursement if you qualify for, with your DC drop, which means direct cert drop, which is anybody who is on Medicare or SNAP, which used to be just called social services, used to be called TANF, now it's called SNAP. So there's a drop that comes from Albany and it downloads into your student enrollment. And if over 40% of your free and reduced are from the drop, not your total free and reduced, which is applications, foster, migrant, homeless, it's only for your DC drop. If over 40% of your free and reduced are from the DC drop, then you qualify for the CEP. Okay, then there's a formula, and so then you would have, if you're over 40%, then you would be eligible to split your reimbursement between whatever the formula works out to. Say it's 80%, I think ours is about 70%, are reimbursed at the free rate, and then the 30% would be reimbursed at the full rate. So, but then you also are getting no revenue from paid students, because there are no more paid students. Everybody is free. So, mid-year we'll do the budget, and then we'll give that to Tim, and he can present that, and we'll work on that so that we can see where we're at and how that worked out. Because it's hard to tell with the increase of how many the participation we put in, what we thought was going to be the increase in participation, to see how the numbers would work, but we just don't know. We didn't know that everything was an estimate. So if you look on the paper that we gave you is Townsend, which is the elementary, middle, high school, and the totals for 17-18 and 18-19 for what the comparison. That's a percentage of ADP. ADP is your average daily participation. Okay, so we did serve free breakfast last year, so you're not going to see a big change in the breakfast, especially in the high school, because it was already free last year. So that's not different than what it is now. It just was at a different reimbursement rate. We just did that still free, reduced, and full last year, and now it's all free. So with the CEP. So, but the lunch is what really jumped up, and that's what we had anticipated. So if you look on September, at Townsend, it went from 62% to 76, October 66 to 81, and November 74 to 83. So the same thing happened at the high school. You went from 63 to 68, 64 to 72, 58 to 70. So overall, in November, you have a 77, from 66 to 77%. So you have 11% increase in participation. So we had anticipated at least a 10%. So things are on track and early enough. September is hard because everyone has their lunch pail. They don't, little kids don't buy lunch, don't want lunch in the beginning of the year, but that is increased and is still be going up. November is hard because we have the 3 days, but then sometimes the kids leave earlier, especially high school kids, before a break. We always have a lower enrollment those few days, but we still have to count them as a full day. Like you'll see here Friday, there'll be a lot less kids here on Friday because it's the Friday before a break. It's just how it is. Right. So That's why when you have a month that has a break in it, you'll see that the percentage usually will go down because we don't have the kids here. So the ADP is your average daily participation, how many kids are actually eating. So you can't eat if you're not here. So that's why you'll see those numbers will go down. But the financial part, come mid-year, we'll do a report and see where we're at with that. And the other thing I wanted to talk about that's been in the news is a final rule for child nutrition. They had the final rule. So there was a few changes. The whole wheat rule is now, we have a waiver for pizza crust, pasta, because the pasta was that horrible whole wheat, which was brown, and the kids would not eat it. It didn't matter what you did to it. At one point, the spaghetti, we made it into lo mein, and we said we put soy sauce in it, because it's the only way we could get rid of it. So we have now, next year we won't have to have the wheat. We'll still use the bread, because the kids are used to that, which we won't use the pasta, the bagels, or the English muffins, and mostly the pasta. But so that'll work out fine. So the requirement next year is only 50%. It has to be whole grain in the week. You have to offer 50% in the week. And then the milk, which they had done in the beginning of the year, but you had to have a waiver for it, so it wasn't actually the final rule. You could have 1% flavored milk, because now we have to have skim or non-fat flavored milk. Years ago, you had to have whole milk, and you couldn't ever get rid of the whole milk unless you just couldn't. So then now we can't have that. We can only have flavored 1% and fat-free flavored. Now they're going to let us have 1% flavored, so without having permission to do that from the state. And the other thing is the sodium requirement. They're going to push that off another year because they're just finding that that's what they had required, or their suggestion was it's just not attainable because it's just everything you have has the sodium. So we have a lot of reduced sodium items, and the industry is trying, but they haven't caught up yet with the regulation yet. So they're pushing that out a little further. So, but the whole grain, that's good because that's where we have our biggest problem. And the milk, a lot of our kids would really like the whole milk, but we're not. It went to 1%. So next year we'll probably have the 1% flavor, which is a chocolate. So.
Well, I understand, the push for the nutrition, but if the kids aren't going to eat the lunch, how are they getting nutrition in that?
And the other part is you have to have for breakfast and lunch, you have to have 3 items, and one has to be a fruit or vegetable. So they have to take a fruit or vegetable. So we have a sharing table out there, and it's sometimes pretty full. I mean, the kids in order to be a reimbursed meal. And now that it's free, it's even harder because they're like, I don't want it, I'm not gonna eat it, why do I have to take it? I just want this. Well, you still have to have a reimbursable meal, which is 3 components, and one has to be a fruit or vegetable. So it doesn't matter, they can throw it out, they can share it, they can just set up whatever they want to do with it, but they must have it, and that did not change in the final rule, which everyone was hoping that
hold
that
on
would
to
change.
it for, practice, if you have practice or after school, something like that, hold on to it.
So that is hard, and we try to offer as much whole fruit and vegetables so that they can do that, so that they can take it with them.
Okay.
But if they're at the register, then we leave the government fruit. We put that there because if they're just going to throw it out, I'd rather they throw that out than throw an apple out. The apples have gotten expensive, and the handheld fruit. But that certainly is the goal, is to get kids to take stuff that they will eat either then or later.
Right.
So if it's that they're going to take it with them, that's perfect. So they take the apple or the oranges or the bananas or whatever else we can offer. So celery sticks we put in the bags, so they can certainly take that for later if they want to. So
good.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, thank you.
Okay.
And I'd like to just ask Lucy how she feels things are going in the kitchens
Real well.
around.
I think the kids are liking the meals. I see every day they come back and go, oh, it's nice, it's good, so you're getting comments now. Before we weren't, but now they're speaking up. So we ask them what they would like, and some of them say, some of them don't. But it's going well.
Any major things noticed either at Townsend or here that you want to share?
No, everything seems to be off. The after-school snack program is going good here. We're up to like 50 to 70 kids after school. And
At
that's
the high
one-
school here?
Yep, here, it's just
Wow.
one snack with a juice or a milk. So we get one item. So that's really going up. So
That's for kids that are either here for remedial enrichment or sports. But for the sports, hopefully that they're doing some homework first, so that they're there for, because you're not allowed to do it just for athletics. That's not what the program is for.
Right.
It's for, with an academic purpose. So a lot of the kids are in there for study hall first until their teachers, waiting for their teachers for their coaches. So those kids have a snack and start their homework, and that's worked out really well.
Nice.
Yeah, if they're not hungry, they'll work better, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
You get hungry,
So,
you work.
and some of them eat pretty early, so,
Right.
and then aren't going home until, 7 or so. once they
After
get-
practice or
yeah,
something,
between
right.
practice and they're getting on the bus and going, for to a game or something. So to get a little something is certainly helpful.
Great.
If there's anything that you have any concerns about, just let me know, and then you can send us an email, and we'll be glad to report back that way. And like I said, when we get mid-year, then we'll do the budget and see how the
that looks.
CEC's working out financially. So,
Okay.
and then make some decisions on who and how we're going to support that for the next year. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucy.
And I apologize for my phone. I shut it off earlier, and I must have thought I did it again with it and turned it on instead of off again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd love to stay, but I have an hour drive, so.
Oh.
Yep.
Take care. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you.
O&M department, everything's going pretty well. I don't have a tremendous amount to report on this time of year, just kind of normal things. Of course, we're into the fall sports, or the winter sports season, excuse me. And, it gets awful busy. We have a lot of Saturday work and things like that we bring one of the guys in for. Excuse me. Just recently, we had our building maintenance mechanic, Brett Wood from Townsend School. He took a position as Director of Facilities 1 over to Franklin, and we certainly wish Brett the best of luck, and I think he'll do a great job for them because he always did a great job for us. Also, the retirement of Roger Kilmer, one of our longtime custodians, and we'll be replacing those positions. With Brett leaving, we don't have an asbestos manager planner anymore, and that I'm going to take that course at the end of March at the Albany BOCES for a week, and I'll be certified in that. And in the meantime, of course, I believe it was the last board meeting, you guys appointed Rich as the point person for anything asbestos-wise, and Rick Shaw from BOCES will, of course, help us out. And anything we need, we're fine, so. Speaking of Rick, fire inspections will be coming up next month. He told me the other day on the phone, it'll be starting the 15th of January in all our buildings district-wide. That's done on 11 month intervals. So, the next year will be like in December, and it just moves back and back, so you get around to a year's time. We always do quite well in those. We never really have any issues. And that's about that. As far as I'm sure everybody this time of year likes to know about the heating systems and things like that, everything's up to shape and working well. Everybody's staying warm. We did have an airlock problem over at Townsend School in the auditorium that it really became a grizzly bear to us, and we had Train come in, Jeremy Soule, one of the technicians from Train, come in and helped us out, and it was just a couple of little things we was doing wrong that he knew how to do because he'd done it so many times, and we watched, and something like that ever happens again, we'll be able to handle it. And other than that, I guess that's all I have. And that, as I say, everything's pretty much been the normal. We haven't, over the Christmas and New Year holidays, of course, we're planning to do with the 5 days or whatever it is we have to work. Of course, we plan and we get as much done as we can, especially maintenance-wise, and fixing things up. So, any questions of me?
Did you check with Rick on what we were talking about?
Yes, I did. He'll come in sometime and explain that to us.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Yep. Tracy.
I'd like to start off and just say, Roger Kilmer retired. He started as a bus driver back in 1967. So he's, and once he retired from bus driving, he came over to be a custodian, and so he's got a lot of years in here. Good guy. Graydon had hit on the possible roundtables and the meetings that the boards do. And I know you guys don't have a lot of time. I mean, you put a lot of effort into this, and your daily schedule would hamper it. But us, like the transportation, John in the buildings, grounds, and the superintendent themselves, every month we have a meeting with our peers. Usually it's always generally in the same place that we go, and we get so much information from it. Other people are doing things that we're not doing, and we gain their knowledge. And like you said, Brian's ahead of your group, which I'm sure he's probably in touch with Albany and places like that for the main information for the board. Same way with us. We have a legislative person in our group that goes to NIAP, which is our group, and gets a lot of information. And when we meet once a month, it's a great thing, because anybody's having a problem, we can run it by the other person, see what they've done, get the new information. So I know it'd be tough, because we're just one person going, and if you guys wanted all of you to go, I mean, it'd be a tough thing. But I mean, I think it would be advantageous to you, because you just get more information from it. There's always something from it. We've had minimal weather. I think I've talked to Larry like twice, 2 mornings.
I know, I missed you.
So. 2
5
mornings.
o'clock call?
But that's about it. I mean, I know winter doesn't start till Friday. But we'll see. March, that's out there a ways, but we seem to have snow in March. I've gotten several applications for bus drivers. Unfortunately, one or so hasn't been able to continue just because they haven't been able to hit the qualifications. But I have other ones out there that they tell me they're promising they're going to fill out and get back to me. Brings me back to bus drivers. We had a bus driver custodian that was out on medical, back now, so that helps me tremendously, because my sub that was taking the spot, now I have an extra sub. We're working through things to make sure that the custodial part of it all works out for us, so those drivers can stay as sub drivers, and that helps everything in the end too. You guys approved some bus monitors that are going to help also. That seems to be a tough one. I have several that are on the buses, one-on-one with students, and just needed extra ones. And it was tough because I'd have to use sub drivers who are also trained in that aspect to be able to do that. But now with the extra ones, that helps out. Now from there, I'm going to cue Rick. And he's going to play a video. I want you to watch this video.
Now, the country's largest school bus maker says they've developed new technology to prevent many of these crashes and save kids' lives. And today, for the first time ever, they're about to show us that technology on this bus in action. And to do it, we have our drone out, we have multiple cameras, and we are here on this closed track, away from traffic so nobody gets hurt. And the reason for that is because we're about to get on this bus and nearly crash it to see if it really works. The company, IC Bus, sets up the deck, calling in his special water truck, hosing down the track. Like it's just rain, the kind of conditions your kid's bus would drive in. I'm on the bus with Trish Reed of IC Bus. Their driver, Fred, is behind the wheel. We barrel down the road, heading right for the wet pavement. The system is off. Okay, so the system is off right now. This is like any school bus in America.
Yes, it is.
All right, here's the turn. Here we go. Oh, you can see the whole back of the bus is fishtailing out. I mean, we're all over the place.
Lost control and a skid.
If there were cars right there, people.
Be devastating.
Now check it out from another angle. The bus crashing right through those cones. From our NBC drone, you can see it fishtail, leaving the track, even coming straight at our camera in the safe zone. Now we come around and do it again, but this time they activate the electronic stability control. System on. Okay, confirming the system is on. It is on. Here comes that turn right now. Whoa. Oh, that's a tight turn. Gotta stay inside the cones.
The system knew what the driver and the bus was doing and corrected it.
Spot on, accurate. A perfect turn, even at the same speed. Staying on track, not hitting a single cone. But the computer does even more. This next task surprised even us. The team parks a car on the track. As we're still on the bus, the driver hits the brakes.
We're going to demonstrate collision mitigation technology. It's advanced technology that helps the driver if they get distracted or have any kind of medical condition to avoid an accident.
This is to simulate we're on a highway, there's traffic up ahead, gridlock, and the driver's not stopped.
That's correct.
If we continue on, we're gonna hit that car, guys. Could that be? The computer hits the brakes automatically, stopping the bus in its tracks. Can you hit the brake on that? I actually want to get out real quick and show you something. I want to show you the distance it even stops. This is how well the radar works. This is like a whole school bus lane away from the car in front of it. This will save your kids' lives. That's amazing. Experts say school bus is still the safest way to get your kids to school. This technology makes them even safer, obviously. And this is a big deal because, as I mentioned in the piece, the company that came up with this technology, IC Bus, is huge. In fact, nearly 2/3 of all kids in America ride IC buses to school every day. Now they are putting this technology into every new school bus they build standard.
Good.
Great.
So, they've had this technology in the truck industry for a long time. They've had it in their cars, and it's you know, we've always asked why is it not on the buses, and no one could ever answer it. And, you know, and it comes down really to money in the end. Like he said, all the new buses, the new ones, hopefully that we get in the summer, they're coming with this. All of them have it on it, mandatory. They're still under the state contract that's there right now, so there's no upcharge, there's no extra cost for it. It's the same price, you know, of what the bus would be without it. But like I said, they're all coming with it. Now the one thing you've seen there, where they come up to a car and it's stopped and the bus put on the brakes, that's the top of the line. There is an upcharge for that section of it. The normal part of it is if you're following a vehicle down the road and that vehicle now slowed down all of a sudden, the bus will automatically apply the brakes to keep that cushion compared to just a fixed object. The upcharge in the end, when you look at it, you know, and we're crazy not to get that, it's like a $2,000 upcharge, state aidable. Life of a bus, it's like $100 a bus per year, really, what it comes down to after for our state aid. So, I mean, in the end, it's a minimal cost to us for that option. And the best part about it is, you know, we have more fixed object stuff than anything that we would have if there wasn't an accident. Drivers get distracted, there's something. You know, that's the thing that would happen. Knock on wood, you know, we haven't had that. You know, they do a good job out there. The drivers do a phenomenal job. So, like I said, I'm not trying to extend the time, but I just wanted to show you that video. I thought it was a great video. It just shows everything. Because we drive our cars, pretty much all of us drive our cars and have that in it. And I think all of us have had it activate and say, wow, you know, that helped us. So, other than that, any questions?
I'll say that one guy did do pretty good though, even without the stuff to make it around that turn.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Pretty good driving right there, so.
Well, I'd like to say they brought in a special water truck. I don't know, just a water truck, I don't know.
I think the driver was more special than the one.
Yeah.
I agree.
System activate for wildlife?
It activates for, the one that comes standard doesn't. The upgraded one has a camera in it that does.
Any obstruction?
Yeah, and the other part about it is, the nice thing, it activates, if something's close, it's got an audible alarm and a light alarm that lets you know something's happening. The upgraded one also reads speed signs. It reads a sign, so if you're going 4 miles an hour over what that sign reads, audible alert. Beep, beep, beep. And it'll tell you that you better slow down. Lots of times coming into town, everybody forgets 30 miles an hour is way at the top of the hill. You get past that and you're still doing 50 coming into town until you get down by the old Buto's place. But, you know, in something like this, it would activate and it would tell you.
They better not put that in pickups.
It definitely could save lives.
Well, if you had a Chevy, they do have them on.
They get
Over speed alert.
They get up to speed.
You can set it. So, any other questions?
Thank you.
Rick?
What about Tim? Didn't we hear from Tim?
Yeah, we care about him.
Mr. Thomas is showing favorites.
I don't have much for everyone. We had a lockdown on December 10th, which we felt went extremely well. We did find a few odd things. One teacher just strolled down the hallway. Another teacher kept working at her desk. So we have some things to still work on, but we're always going to have some things to work on. We did find a speaker in the boys' locker room that wasn't working. It took us actually every day we worked on that. We finally figured it out yesterday. We have that working. So overall, it went extremely well. The state troopers and the local police department were supposed to be here. They both called that morning and said things had popped up, which obviously happens in that line of business. I did not reach out to the sheriff's department, but we will next time. We did distribute our emergency access cards, which are little red badges similar to these, which give the police departments 24/7 access to our buildings, even when we enter a lockdown. When we enter a lockdown, all the building doors also lock, or the card readers actually are disabled. Their badges will actually let them in the building anytime during an emergency or what have you. We're hoping that encourages them to come into our buildings more. There's no more reason they shouldn't. They don't have to look for a key. They don't have to. It's right in their car. Just grab it, scan it, and walk in our building. Do a little bit of patrolling. That evening, we had a safety committee, which lasted about an hour, a little longer than normal. About 15 people attended. That went extremely well too. Some very good conversations and things to think about. And Mr. Drum attended it. But it went well. We've had a rash of 911 misdials. We have 9 as the dialing out number to get out. And then somehow, not somehow, it's very easily, it can be done very easily. They press 911 or 911 and we get a misdial. Then normally they hang up and they have to call back to explain the hang up. So there's 2 misdials. But every misdial alerts 15 of us via text message, phones, or computers, or emails are going off. So every time someone hangs up, we're getting double alerted twice. So we're changing the dial out number from 9 to 8, which we think will alleviate most of the issues, not all of them. Half of the work is done. I'm going to do the other half, not on Monday, Mr. Thomas, like I had told you. I'll do them on Wednesday. My
Fair
wife
enough.
would be extremely upset if I did them on Monday. Or I'll do them Friday night. We'll figure that out. So that is on our agenda.
Isn't 811 Dig Safe New York?
I think,
Yes.
isn't it 811 dig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And
I
611 is.
hate to have you back into something else that causes you issues too.
Well, we would rather have them call that than,
Yeah.
we don't have any other options because all the other numbers are taken with our system. And so I cleared out the 8s all week, and we actually had 22, they're called route patterns, that I had to move to the 7s. 6 is our high school, 5s are middle school, 3 are middle school, 4 are Townsend, 3s and 2s are all taken by our Cisco phone system. And those all have route patterns of 50 to 200 numbers that I would have had to change. So 8 was...
So they'll just think John's digging a lot.
Yeah, so we'll just we'll blame that on maintenance. But so we're working on it. The other thing that we're doing that's kind of fun, and I might as well just show you. We're live streaming right now. We're live streaming the meeting, but we're also live streaming the basketball games and anything in the gym. So I know some of you have already checked it out. But, we got Ron Golly here, got a table that we set up for him every night. He's down there announcing it. For the girls' games, he has Lucas Wally, a student, who comes in and does the girls' games with him. He was supposed to have, I believe it was Carissa, can't think of her last name tonight, but something must have popped up because I'm not seeing her. But it's kind of neat, we throw up the logo up there, we have a scoreboard overlay, we have the shot clock, we have the clock. To be honest with you, it's one of those projects that I was really excited to do. I couldn't wait to do it. Didn't think it was going to turn out well, and it turned out really well, I feel like.
And you can actually, when you click on it, you can see how many people are viewing it. I didn't see how many were viewing it when you first did it.
When I checked earlier, it was around 20. So far, it usually gets between 30 and 50. We did John's wrestling tournament, and I think for the championship, that was up to 40 or 50 people. I think once we keep getting word out, I've talked to Justin Preston about emailing the opposing team's athletic directors, because, my parents always went to the game, but the farther the game was, the harder it was for parents to go. I would think a lot of the visiting teams' parents and family would want to watch the games. Walton gets a good turnout to the game, so.
40 or 50 is the sign-in, really, though, right? It's not the number of actual people who might be watching it.
Right. There could be several people.
Could be 3 people
at home. Right. Yeah. Right. And I know, like Kevin mentioned, he tried to watch it on his laptop, and it was kind of small. It's very simple these days to cast it from your laptop to any of your smart TVs. I sit at home, my 5-year-old loves Walton, and he is all about Orange Crush. He wants to come here. We throw wrestling, we threw the wrestling up, we throw the basketball games. I've watched almost every game. And I would have watched maybe 2 a year. I've watched probably 10.
Now, what is the cost to live stream now? Do we still have to pay?
This is a service that, this isn't done through the same service that we're paying DCMO bosses to do this.
Just because I...
So,
Arabelle behind the circle left.
22.
So, there are actually it's actually 3 different services. This is DCMO bosses called Ensemble. We will be getting rid of this and just moving to this.
Okay.
This is like 2,500 or 3,000, I think, aidable.
A year?
A year.
A year.
So we will be replacing this. This is $3,000 for the scoreboard overlay and the live streaming. With this, we actually have 2 little boxes. One is permanently mounted in the gymnasium. Everything there is permanently mounted. That's not going to go anywhere. It's just, that was a very difficult setup. We also have a portable box, which we've been using for the concerts and we use for the football field and anything mobile where we could get power and internet. Because really all it is you see all the equipment I have here, you move something, it's very difficult to figure out what's wrong. This is a simple box with an HDMI cable. Plug that in, HDMI cable, reads the sound, video, you're up and running. So it's $3,000 and it's aidable. So in the long run, I guess it's not.
No, I know people who are in, rehab and nursing home facilities who aren't able to come to games readily, particularly winter sports where, accessibility is a concern, slip and fall. you know, and also people who have moved out of the area or winter in the south and are able to watch their kids or grandkids up here. I mean, it's great. My brother-in-law in South Carolina was watching Ethan's sister. My brother from Albany who can't make games regularly. It's very nice.
Yeah,
So,
I think it's turned out well. The community, from what I've heard, has loved it. Ron Golly text. I'm in constant communication with him all night. Sometimes you'll see the camera jiggle and I have to restart things from home, but almost everything now I can do remotely too. So we have this whole schedule of everything that goes on in the high school gym already scheduled and ready to go. But there's still glitches that happen. But Ron said he was at the bank the other day, and the lady, the teller, told him, you know, I've been watching you every night, thank you. He said before you knew it, 15 people in the bank were simply talking about watching Walton sports on TV, and they're just so happy because they can't get out of the house anymore as easily as they used to. And now they're able to contribute and watch and support their teams. And you see the comments on the side, and I think, you know, I'd love to do it for soccer and everything else. You know, I'm a big soccer player, big soccer fan, not player anymore.
Well, I like the idea of the sports, but also opening up, you had mentioned the concerts, plays,
Yep.
things like
You can't
that.
do plays because of copyright issues.
Okay, I was just going to ask that, and I know sometimes they charge for that, so
The
that would be...
concerts we have been streaming, but we don't publicize that because we want them in our building. Now that I'm saying that here, that, you know.
Kind of defeats the purpose.
they're all watching the game, right? They're all watching the game.
We have 12 viewers, they have, you know, well, there's 22 right now logged in. So, I mean, I absolutely love this. It's turned out great, and Ron Golly has done an amazing job. He's donating his time. During half times, he reads, you know, tells everyone when the board meetings are happening, what school events are occurring. He interviewed, did he interview, I believe, John Saturday for the Friday?
I couldn't make it to him, I just got too busy. I'm gonna do it.
He was supposed to interview John Friday during the last basketball, the Harpersville game, I believe it was, regarding Saturday's wrestling, but we plan on bringing in people to do interviews with him during halftime. We've already incorporated the student aspect of it, which I think is a big thing. So we're hitting it from all angles. I know Tim has someone that's from college that might be coming home for break that is more than welcome to come in and sit down and contribute. That's
right.
I love it. I think it's fantastic for Walton.
And it's
I think it's
archived, I
minimal
mean-
cost. We haven't, equipment-wise, we haven't had to. We did buy a GoPro camera. That's what's mounted up there. So I think overall cost of this project was $3,300. All of it through BT BOCES, so all of it will be aidable.
Now, the archiving is done right through YouTube, so there's no cost to that
Yep,
as
this
well.
is neat. We actually could have only used, it's called Boxcast. We could have embedded this into our website, kept everything internal, but then we would have ended up having to archive it somehow. This allows us to actually stream it in 2 locations at once, so we could still embed it in our website, but we want to grab some, you know, we want to be able to analyze and tell how many people are watching, and we want to see the comments. So it streams in both places at once. So it's actually streaming on Boxcast and in YouTube right now. But we don't publicize the Boxcast because, again, we want to send everyone to one general location.
Now, is that on like a 5-minute delay?
It's on a 2-minute delay.
2 minutes, okay.
And that's what's, you know, the geeky side of me loves it because the scoreboard overlay is completely different from the video. It's on the other side of the gym, hooked into the internet over there. It goes to a different website, and then we incorporate it, and somehow, this is what's funny, the sound is actually about half second ahead of the video. So at first it drove me nuts, but then I kind of liked it because I knew that someone was going to make a basket or get a steal. So it was like kind of cheating while I watched TV. But we're going to fix that by ordering. We have a little part that we need to order, so the cost is going up a bit. But it's a $30 part where we delay the sound, you know, a variable amount of seconds. So to me, it's working out great. By the way, everything with the school is running well too. But
That's good to know.
By the way.
I hope you guys really like this because this is a project that we've incorporated. I feel we've hit from all angles. We've included everyone from coaches to teachers to administrators to, I mean, everybody is involved in it. And it's turned out better than expected, which those of us know like big projects, they tend to sometimes. not turn out that way.
Well, we're lucky to have Von Galley volunteer his time like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Great.
So,
So are we looking at any other projects this year that, through the smart money, or?
that's what I need to sit down with Mr. Thomas. I have a plan that I would like to propose, but that would mostly entail equipment for classrooms, replacement plans. I plan on presenting hopefully next month what we just spent our first half of the Smart Bonds money on: cameras, door security, the phones. We still have about $400,000 of that.
Okay,
Which we need to discuss.
so that's forthcoming. All right.
Yep.
They get all the doors straightened out over at Townsend School yet?
Excuse me?
They get all the doors straightened out?
The door PO went out 2 weeks ago. We did have to pay a small portion of it. The total cost was going to be upwards of $35,000 to $40,000. We cut a check for $4,000. So they ordered the equipment and hardware that's needed. So as soon as that's done, hopefully by the time I'm up here next time to speak, it'll be resolved. And then we can start changing the door cores and that stuff. I mean, they can still get in the building. It's really not affecting much. It's just we got to get it done so we can finish that project and move onwards. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very quickly for me, I'm going to be sending out to you a mock-up of a principal search brochure so that you can see what that looks like. I did one with the middle school and we were talking about doing that. This will be very, very similar, but I'd like you to see it on the timeline that I was looking at. We were looking at when we came back from the holiday break and winter break, that we would make a final determination on that, and so that we can get ready to do whatever mailings we may need to do and that sort of thing. So please expect that. Our immunization issue is coming along. We know that we've had some bumps in the road on that, but we have talked it through with everybody, and we have a plan. We've been working at it. We have had some reduction. We've gone from last time I talked to you, there were just over 20 non-compliance, and now we're at last count, which was I think yesterday morning, we were at 14. So we're getting down. It's getting there, and it's just a tough time of year to try to get some of those things done in the time that we want it to. So we're trying to be understanding, but we're also getting, breathed down upon by New York State Department of Health to get these things done. So we're just imploring people to help us out and make sure everybody is compliant with immunizations. WTA and Westman negotiations are continuing on. We've got meetings scheduled. All the meetings are still going well. I'm not seeing any, I'm not noticing any really major issues, and I'm hopeful that we're going to bring things to an end shortly after the beginning of the year. That's not a promise, but I just feel very good about the conversations that we've been having, and I can take a moment in a brief executive session to brief you on a couple of things there. Also, want you to look for one of the things that came to mind when we were talking the other night at the Finance Committee. One of the things that came to mind was a potential, I call it a pre-budget community survey. And so I was playing around with some the possibility of putting together a survey that we might be able to put online or something of that sort, that folks could talk to us, and folks in the community could give us some information based upon the items that are on the survey that we might then be able to use as we begin to construct budget. So I did a mock-up of that, and again, I'm going to send that to you. Any of those items, if you've got a comment on them or you'd like me to, with the holiday and the break and everything, it makes it a little bit tough. But if there's anything that comes to you, if you want to email me about them or ask me a question about, what does this number mean or anything of that sort, then I'm happy to look at that. But I'd like to get your feedback so that I know whether you want to go forward with some of these items. Or if I'm totally in left field, you need to tell me that too. I'm also going to send you an initial proposed calendar for 2019, 2020. We have a couple superintendents who work on this every year. I'm not one of them, but from the BOCES, we kind of rotated around. Obviously, I'm not one of them this year, but I'm going to send that to you, and I'll make a couple comments in terms of what some of the comments were at the last chief school officers meeting, as to maybe some other ways to look at things so that you can consider that. So again, if you've got some preferences one way or another, please let me know. And that's really it for me, except I am requesting a short executive session.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, so we have a motion to go into executive session?
If it's okay with the board, I'd like to have Mark remain for the executive session, and also Rick Robinson.
And this is for,
A matter relating to a particular employee.
I have an employee
Contractual
issue.
negotiations and a legal matter.
That's correct, all three of those. Thank
okay.
you.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right, well, thank you. Don't forget to get your paper signed. Thanks for coming.
Kevin said it.
You just got lucky, right?
You won the lottery. I didn't want to.